Hi, I'm Mayor George Bray. Thank you for joining me on this episode of City Profile. Today, we're sitting down with Commissioner Dujuan Thomas and learning more about what motivated him to become a city commissioner. Thank you for joining me on City Profile. This is a show where we sit down with our city leaders and learn more about their personal background and really what motivates them to become involved. And today it's really my honor to have Commissioner Dujuan Thomas join us. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm going to call you Dujuan and Commissioner Thomas from time to time, if that's
work.
Okay.
Yes,
So I know people are interested to know more about your background. I mean, you're one of the youngest leaders that's ever been elected to our city commissioner, and I know people want to know more. So can you tell us a little bit more about your background and your upbringing?
For sure. So I was born and raised here in Paducah. Had a village of family that helped bring me up. My grandmother, my grandfather, my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, and so on. And being born and raised in Paducah, I've just grown so much to love this community. Of course, I went to college in Louisville, so that was my first time really living in a different city for about 5 years there. And then also, I guess I can backtrack, graduated from Paducah Tillman High School in 2016, and I was also in the Army National Guard at that time because I enlisted when I was 17 with parental consent. Did my basic training, came back, finished my senior year, and then went on to do AIT and do my job training. I was 88 Mike in the National Guard. And then went off to the University of Louisville, enjoyed my time there. It was a different environment being in the big city because I'm so used to the close-knit community of Paducah. But outside of that, also have traveled all across the United States. So I've seen a lot there is to see in the world. And that's what's really kept me grounded in Paducah because I just love our community, how it's structured, everybody that's here, it's diverse and inclusive. And I love everything about our city.
Well, that's great. I mean, you've really, at a young age, you really already accomplished quite a bit. And so, two questions. First of all, what motivated you really to, I mean, you ran, first of all, you were a write-in candidate for mayor,
Yes,
know, and so that's what I call your coming out party.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
But what motivates you for public service?
Really, I guess it's rooted back whenever I enlisted in the Army National Guard, just having that passion for serving others and serving our country. And then that, evolved into public service. And it's kind of funny because my recruiter back in the day, he told me, like, you're a politician, because I was always very outspoken about things that were going on in the Army. But I guess that passion just grew, and really, as you know, when I ran for mayor, that was during COVID, so I was on spring break from University of Louisville, saw there was a mayor election going on, and I decided, and this is not a knock to anybody that was running then or anything, but I was like, we're not talking about the roads, our sewers, our south side, and there was a lot of topics that I felt like I could bring to the platform, so I decided to run. Didn't know a thing about running. I went down actually to City Hall to file my paperwork, not knowing you got to go down to the county clerk's office or wherever, down to the clerk's office. But it just evolved from there, and it was different because you didn't get to do door knocking or different things during the COVID period. So I really didn't get that full experience until my first time running for commissioner. And that was just, it was a lot of fun, like being out in the community and just talking to people, hearing their stories. That just really built that passion, and that was one thing that I was trying to discover is what is my passion, and it's serving people. I found out that's really what I love to do.
Oh. So the experiences, so let me put it this way, what experiences have you had that have really shaped your approach to public service?
Definitely. I mean, even going back, I've always held like supervisor and management positions going back to when I was 17 at Vertical Jump. I was one of the first supervisors they hired because they saw that I was serious, and I showed up to my interview like 30 minutes early, and I've just always had that professionalism instilled in me. And really just the door knocking. That's one of my favorite things about running for office is really door knocking, because you're able to meet people where they're at and actually hear what their needs are and what their concerns are. And that really just defined my passion, because I'm like, wow, there's so many people in our community. And sometimes it's not that elected officials aren't doing their job, it's that there's sometimes a disconnect between how do I report this issue. And I know that we just started the My Paducah app, so I'm grateful for things like that coming into place, that people can have an easier way to correspond with local government and report issues. So that was really a starting point. And then also my family, growing up on the north side, our road was always messed up. It still, floods to this day somewhat. And I know we're working towards a solution on the flooding issues in the city. But like my Aunt Virginia, I got to give her props, because she used to put me in front of the news station when I would wait for the bus. And she always, says that she credits herself for getting me involved in government or politics or anything like that. So she did. And seeing stuff on a national level and then being able to see it locally, I guess that just progressed and grew inside of me.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So you ran for commissioner the first time and did not get elected. Yeah. So you didn't take no for an answer.
Oh,
you
yeah.
ran the second time.
Yes,
so
sir.
Now that you're here, what does it mean to you personally to be a commissioner? What does that mean to you?
Honestly, I've went by this motto of people over politics. I just believe in serving the community. I just keep going back. That's what I felt my passion is, serving others. And growing up in the church as well, I think that instilled it in me as well. Helping the elders up and down the steps, helping them to their car, carrying the bags, things like that. It's just fun, really. And I tell people this and they're like, well, it's glad to hear that you're, the best job to have is one that you're having fun doing. And I just have a lot of fun being involved with the community and just serving others. That's really just it.
So your family has some history in public service. So tell us about that, and tell us how that's kind of shaped your approach to public service.
Definitely. So my great-grandfather, James Henry Thomas, was the first black city councilman in Clinton, Kentucky. And I actually didn't find that out until his later years and until he passed on. And I'm like, why didn't y'all ever tell me this? Because I never knew that I had a family history in politics other than my cousin, Regina Thomas. She was the Secretary of State of New Jersey for several years. And then my grandfather's daughter, Yvette Thomas, she was the first black city councilwoman in Clinton. So I never knew that I had that background, but I guess just serving communities runs in my family line as a Thomas. And like I said, my Aunt Virginia as well, she put me in front of that TV watching the news, so that kind of got me into the realm of politics and government, things like that as well. But really having those family members that serve their community and being, barrier breakers. And that's one thing I like to say is I broke an age barrier in our community, being the youngest city commissioner in its history and one of the youngest in the state. And I would have been the youngest in the state, but there was an 18-year-old up in northern Kentucky that won a commission seat with 99 votes versus the 4,500, whatever I got. But some, smaller cities are usually at council, and that's one thing. Getting into this position, I learned, even as a commissioner, not to jump ahead past the questions, but it's good for the community to know the difference between a commissioner and a councilman, because so many people, brought that up, like, oh, councilman. I'm like, well, as a commissioner, as a team, we're equal to the mayor in form of executive and legislative authority. So we're able to make a real difference in our community versus city council cities. But not to jump ahead or jump around questions.
No, I mean, I think a lot of people, it's one of the things you've been passionate about, and the difference in the different forms of government. Yeah. And so, we, the City of Paducah formed this form of government 75 years ago, I guess, and it served us pretty well. Oh, yeah. But there is an art form to it. And so you're learning that art form. Oh, yeah, so 100%. That's really good. So, so now that you've been on board here for 7 months, serving, and you've been talking to a lot of people, you've attended a lot of commission meetings. So what do you see as the biggest opportunities for Paducah? I mean, do you see something that kind of strikes you? Definitely. I think, I'm still learning as I go. There's so much, like during the orientation they gave me, they say drinking from the fire hose, I guess, because it was just a lot of information being thrown at me. And I'm still trying to sort the pieces out, but I think I've gotten my footing very well now. But we're making a lot of progress, like with the South Side. That was one thing that I've been vouching for a long time. So I'm grateful to see that finally the revitalization plan being finalized, and we're getting the footwork done on that. And then also affordable housing. We've had a lot of discussions about that, and I know there's a lot of opportunities coming up, especially with the South Side plan, to get those affordable homes and finding out what affordable is, because that is a very broad word I'm learning.
Because affordable for a millionaire could be a $500,000 home versus affordable for a median income family is $100,000 or whatnot.
Right.
So finding out what that affordable is a big thing that I think we could find. And then also, we've had a lot of discussions recently about the tax and levies and things like that. So honestly, I think one thing that I've been noticing is there may be ways that we can cut spending in the city. And I know this is probably for cities all over the country. There's ways to cut spending. So I think finding an opportunity to do that would be a very big benefit for us and for the community.
Yeah, so there's, Paducah has a lot of, we've been doing things a certain way. Mm-hmm. All of us, everybody kind of gets stuck in their own ruts from time to time. And so, you're young and trying to drive change. So how do you balance, what we've been doing, mm-hmm. what people expect, what people think they want, versus you proposing change?
Right. I think a big thing is that communication part, bridging that gap between local government and the community. And I think we are, like I said, with the My Paducah app, that's a great first step there. And then also I've seen the commissioners and myself and yourself out in the community, being at these events, being able to talk to people and hear their feedback. I think just, continue to open that door to the community and just sending out info, like we sent out the new recycling schedule and things like just getting that info out to the community, because a lot of the things I think I find when there's discrepancy is just people don't know, like they're not aware. But I think with our social media and everything that's going on with technology in the city is really helping bridge that gap. So I think that's just the biggest part, is that I don't want to say a lack of communication, because we're putting it out there, but it's just connecting that communication with the community.
Yeah. So shift subjects just a little bit. Talk about, I want to take these subjects separately. Mm-hmm. So housing and economic development. Let's do housing first. A lot of cities are facing that challenge. How do you see Paducah addressing that challenge?
Definitely. Like I said, with the Southside Revitalization Plan, I think that's a major first step and possibly setting the blueprint for other areas in the town or in our city, because a lot of people, growing up on the north side, they're like, well, we need it on the north side too. And my Aunt Cassandra, she's passed on, but she was always advocating for the north side and getting work done there. And I know right now we've got some road work being done and sidewalk improvements and things like that. But with housing, I think just using that Southside Revitalization Plan as a blueprint for other areas in the city is going to be a great first step. And I know we have the gap funding and different things that were proposed mm-hmm. with that. So I think just expanding that throughout the whole city will be very beneficial with the housing.
So what about economic development? I mean, first of all, how do you define economic development?
Economic development. So I've never been a big math person, I'll tell you that much. So I just know how to save money. That's a big thing for me in my life, is learning how to save money. But developing, like we're doing with GPED, so we have the spec building that's, we just approved that. Yeah. So I think that's a great first step with economic development, because that's going to bring business to the city and that's going to open up the door for more jobs in the city. And then also we have General Matter and all these other facilities open with uranium. I think that's a great step, even though I guess the city didn't really have a part in that because that's federal, but that still opens the door for jobs. And I think that's a great avenue to take whenever we're talking about economic development. It's just getting money in people's pockets. That's a big thing for me.
Well, I think that's very accurate. Mm-hmm. So, as a commissioner, how do you think you can influence more economic development?
Definitely, that's a great question. I think as a team, just using our different demographics that we are connected with, and just finding ways to, for me, like maybe getting some grants or things, or encouraging minority businesses or smaller business, mom and pop shops, to go out for our grants, or the nonprofits to come for our grants and things like that. I know we have many grants to come up throughout the year, especially for the nonprofits. So getting different demographics to actually apply for those grants is a big thing for me. And I know even like the Hotel Metropolitan, y'all were in New York City or wherever y'all were at, and y'all got that together, and we won that grant there. So I think just encouraging people to step out, because a lot of times people may be scared because they don't know what they're doing or whatnot, but they could always reach out to the city. We have a great team at our city that can help guide people on what to do, and if not the city, contact me. I'm always available for people, especially like on Facebook. They can contact me there. My number is readily available for people to reach out.
So I want to drill down on something that you mentioned. You brought up the word team. You brought up the word. You said team.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think that we've done, at least under, my leadership as mayor, is we've tried to approach, the things that we're doing in the city, as a team, and and that can be challenging at times because people have different ideas, different backgrounds, different experiences, different things to bring to the table. But I think that we've proven, that when we work as a team, it's easier to get a lot of things done. So tell me your approach and your thoughts on how the commission works, the mayor and the commission works going forward.
Definitely. I think we've got a great structure thus far. Whenever I first got in, y'all welcomed me in, and I was grateful for that. And I think we just all have a different demographic that we represent. We represent at large, but everybody's connected to a different group. And I really think having that diverse structure really helps us, when we're sharing ideas or if we're in executive session or whatever the case may be, we're able to dialogue and have open discussion about things that affect the whole community. And I think that we should continue doing what we do because I think we do have a great dynamic of communication amongst ourselves, and I'm grateful for that because I don't know how many other cities operate, but I think that we're probably one of the best when it comes to communicating amongst ourselves.
Yeah. So one of the things I've noticed since you got elected is that you are out in the community everywhere. Yeah. You go to a lot of events, and so obviously you think that's important. Yeah. I think all the commissioners try to attend events, but things get in the way from time to time. But you've been that champion out there at events. So tell me and the viewers out there why accessibility, to the commissioners is so important.
Definitely. And, as you've seen recently, I've taken on the moniker the People's Commissioner. So I think that it's just so important for us to be accessible, transparent. And, that's one thing that I ran on is transparency. And not saying the city wasn't transparent. I've learned that sometimes, like I said, it's just that trying to find that connect with the community and get information out. But I just enjoyed, and, I've grown up in the entertainment world as well, doing TV, movies and things. So I've combine that with my public service role, and like I do my monthly recaps that I post on Facebook and YouTube, just recapping what we talked about at our commission meetings and my involvement in the community and the meetings and events and everything that I've went to. And I think just it's a lot of fun. That's one part of it too. I just really enjoy being out in the community. Is that a socialite, I guess you would call me, or whatever the case may be. I just like being social. But then also I do like my times to be reserved and private. There's a lot of things that I think there's a balance. You got to find that balance. And I think I've found that balance for myself. But I will say the first few months I was running on empty almost because I was going to any and everything I could go to just to be present and active. But I think now I've found that balance of, when I need to just step back and actually take time for myself. So I'm glad I found that balance.
Well, you brought up social media.
Yeah.
So I think that, of all the commissioners, you certainly are the one that, is the most active on social media. Why is that important?
Yeah, I think just growing up in a social media age, like I was right there. I don't know what you call me, a Gen Z millennial. I don't know what I am, but I was right at that age where growing up, I didn't have a cell phone until I was probably a sophomore in high school. So once social media hit for me, it was like it stuck. And, now the younger generation, they got phones in preschool probably. But just growing up in a social media age, I've just learned how to use it as a tool because really, of course it's for entertainment, but I've learned to use it as a tool even growing up, through my business and whatnot back in the day. But I think it's just important for elected officials to be present and active. And he was a congressman from North Carolina. He kind of inspired me because he would sit down in front of the camera and just have a topic that he would talk about in a 60-second to 3-minute video. And I was like, man, I really like that format. I want to do something like that. So I started imitating what he did. And people really appreciated that. And I still, to this day, every day or every time I'm out, somebody has stopped me like, I really appreciate your video. And it's funny whenever it's people from the county. They're like, I don't even live in the city, but I appreciate what you're doing and I see your stuff. So I'm like, if people in the county are seeing it, hopefully everybody in the city's seeing it. So I think it's just a fun way to be engaged with the community.
Yeah, well, that's you've certainly taken it to another level, yes, and certainly, you're very, very visible. So you've done extremely well with that. So Since you've been elected, is there one moment that sticks out to you that where you really connected with a citizen or a group of citizens that kind of sticks in your mind? I mean,
yeah, I could think of one. So there's the McCracken County Special Olympics team here in our city. And, you know, ever since I started running, they've been a huge support for me, and I've been super active with them as well. I'm trying to remember the first time we crossed paths, but when we did, it just, you know, it blossomed into this, you know, what it is today. Like, they just had me speaking at their award ceremony here recently, and I was just grateful for the call, for them to even consider asking me to come speak, you know, to them about that and just congratulate them on their achievements, because that team, I'm telling you, they go above and beyond. And, you know, I've been able to help connect them with resources in the city, like they don't have fields to play at sometimes. So I've been able to be that connector in the community and connecting them with certain people that can open doors for them. So that bond there is very special to me, because they're, you know, they're so great and they treat me so well. Every time I see them out in public or wherever they're at, they always come up, give me a hug, you know, shake my hand, and just are happy to talk with me. And that really touches me. And then also, I guess I could say when I visit the schools. So I visited the elementary schools. Reedland Middle School invited me out. I'm waiting for Paducah, Tillman, and McNabb, my home schools, to invite me back out. But interacting with the kids and talking to them about public service and finding that passion of serving others and being a leader, because you don't have to be elected to be a leader. And I try to instill that in them, that at your age, you can help lead your friends, you can help lead your community, your family. You could be that leader that you need to be. So those are just some of the ones that pop up in my head for now, but just, yeah.
So as you think about your first 6 or 7 months in office, is there a top priority that's emerged, you know, from your learnings up to this point, and kind of how are you thinking about priorities?
Definitely. I think one of them that I was coming into as well was the homelessness situation in the city. And whenever I can't remember what it was called when we had them 2 days that we met in the beginning of the year, where we set our priority setting session. And I was
our retreat.
Yeah, our retreat, yeah. So I was able to bring up the homelessness, and we were able to work together, and our team devised that plan with the homeless service grant. And I was super grateful to have been a part of that and getting those funds for those organizations here in our city, like PCM, the Warming Center, and I can't remember the other one that was on there, but Family Service Society. So I'm grateful that they were able to get funds to help with those families that are in need in our city. And also just housing. That's a big thing for me. Like, I was in Washington, D.C. a few months ago. I was there for a national advocacy for Opportunity Youth, but I also tied in my role as a commissioner and talking with James Comer, and also met with Chantel Brown of Ohio. But the main meeting with James Comer, just bringing up affordable housing and how we can get those funds to Western Kentucky. And PCM, their director, she gave us some great insight whenever she came to the city. And I brought that insight to DC with me and was able to share some facts about homelessness. Like, it may not always just be the person on the side of the road holding a sign. It could be that youth that is going from couch to couch with family member to family member because they don't have a stable home. So I think just keep pushing for things like that, affordable housing and our home, you know, taking care of our homeless. And not, like I said when I was running, I don't believe in infinite handouts, but I do believe in giving people a hand up. And I think we're doing that right now.
So we touched on teamwork a little bit, and we've talked about, you know, how we've really got some good things going, you know, with the way we approach things. But clearly, we all have different perspectives, you know, from time to time. So you're going to have a different perspective from me, and vice versa at times, you know. So how are you working through that, you know, in order to make sure we accomplish our goals for the city?
Definitely, and I think, you know, having those different perspectives and different background, it helps us because, you know, we're able to throw ideas off of one another and just try to find that middle ground. Because, you know, as you know, I have my master's degree in legal studies, and I studied government legislation. So I learned about how our congressmen and our senators do their job, and it's always about a back and forth. But at the end of the day, you want to find that middle ground that everybody's comfortable with. And at the end of the day, with our local government, it's really what the community wants and what's best for the community.
Yeah. So we've only got a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So I'll ask you, you know, maybe just a couple of final questions. So if you think about your legacy, you know, and, you know, what would you want your legacy to be as a commissioner when people look back on your time of service with the City of Paducah?
Definitely. Maybe they'll make me a statue that says the People's Commissioner. Maybe that's one. But no, I think just people remember me for serving with my 100% wholeheartedly. That I led with transparency. That I bridged those gaps in our community and help people understand how local government works and the importance of local government. Because so many people overlook local government and just worry about the president, when at the end of the day, the president, whoever it isn't going to fix your roads or your sidewalk in front of your house. It's your mayor and your commissioners. So I think really just bridging that gap, I want people to remember me for being that, that bridge for the community and local government.
Mm-hmm. So you want to try to wrap that thought into maybe a final message? I mean,
Definitely.
What would be your final message for the people out there that are watching this?
Definitely. I'm just super grateful that I was elected here in our city, that our community trusted me to be in this position, being the youngest commissioner in the history of Paducah. And, I get so much affirmation from the community telling me I'm doing a good job. So that really helps boost me and knowing I'm on the right path and that God is leading me in the right direction in what I'm doing, because my foundation is based on Christ and He's really opened up this door for me. And to anybody in the community, if they ever need me, they can always contact me through Facebook, Dujuan Thomas, Paducah City Commissioner, and that's where I post all my updates. I do an update after every commission meeting. I do a monthly recap, and I cover a lot of topics. Like one of them was a lot of topics that I cover, but they can always reach out to me also on my email, dthomas@paducahky.gov, or they can reach out to my government cell, 270-366-5001. So I'm just here for the community. I'm grateful to serve our community, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve our community.
Well, that's great. You stuttered there a little bit over topics, because there are so many topics.
A lot, yeah.
That we have to address every single day. And I'm sure you've experienced a lot of that.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Today that I've interviewed Commissioner Dujuan Thomas on this episode of City Profile. And I just want to thank everybody out there for joining us.